Well, I was pleased to get an invitation to give a talk tonight for two reasons. One was I recently bought this sculpture from an artist in Tissington in Derbyshire, and I bought it because it immediately spoke to me symbolically about right view and no view. And 24 hours after buying it, I got an email from my graduate saying, "Will I give this talk?" So there's one reason. But the second reason, I want to no view, the possibility of no view, and I'll be saying quite a bit about what that place, what that might mean. That was what really drew me into the Dharma. From a very young age, I loved quests. King Arthur, Chris Bonington in the North Face of the Argon, Hermann Hesse's Last Beat Game. But the quest that captured my imagination most is I became aware that there were people who'd dedicated their lives based on an instinct, that there was a place of seeing, a place of knowing that was very important and was liberating. So there weren't so many Dharma books around in the 70s, but there were books around and they talked about Satori or Nirvana or awakening or enlightenment. And this is what attracted me actually to Dharma, because it seemed to me that the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, was making the biggest claim of all. So I thought he was either a very talented medieval salesman, or that was something to be taken very seriously. So very pleased to be giving this talk. Just have these up as a visual cue. There's only two overheads tonight. No view, right view, wrong view. And I'm going to say something about, first of all, what we mean by views, because is it sound okay? Or
It's just as you're moving about a bit, Achara.
Is it? What do you want me to do? Not move so much?
Yeah.
Achara means immovable. So I'll do my best. So I'll say something about the meaning of view. It's really worth listening to that bit. Drishti, view. It's not just a belief or opinion or an idea. View means something. I'll say a little bit about the concept of no view. By definition, that's difficult. I'll explain why. And then we'll retrace our steps. We'll look at wrong view, right view. We'll return to no view. And then, having covered all this theoretical ground, theory has practical implications, but having covered all that theoretical ground, I'll come to some practicalities. Was it near or was it the mic?
Good age parking on stage. Is that better?
Is that better? Good. All right. Drishti. The root of the word is to see, and it's a vision or a perspective, a sight. It's not, I might be using the word thinking or thoughts or ideas, but really this is an orientation on life. And no view is a goal beyond concepts. It appears that there's a place where there's a liberation from a certain sort of suffering. And I'm fated with sound today. Good. Are we good enough? Yeah. So no view it's actually synonymous with enlightenment or awakening. It's synonymous with the Buddha jewel. I've noticed that good teachers say very little about the goal and we say a lot about the path. But let's just see what we can say about the goal. So I don't know if any of you, the literature that made the most robust attempt to say something about the goal is the Pranya Paramatar literature. And they tried to commit to writing what this place of no view is. Now remember, when I say no view, we're talking about a vision. And Bante's translation of no view is perfect vision. So one of the suttas, does anyone happen to know what the shortest sutta in the whole of the Buddhist canon is? How long it is? One letter. So here's the sutta. That's it. That's a sutta on perfect vision. And what that's communicating is any concept or anything that we say about perfect vision actually is wrong. So that's not a lot of help, is it? Because it would be easy to hear that as something that's nihilistic, in the sense it's negating everything, or agnostic, like anyone holds a view and everything has missed the point. It's not saying that. It's just saying that any concept, anything that's committed towards any concept, doesn't fully capture the vision or the perspective from the awakened mind. So that's not particularly helpful, is it? And of course, the Heart Sutra, that's another Pranavatamata sutra. I'll just read a little bit of it again, just listen to all the negation. Nor is there pain or cause of pain or ceasing pain or no path to relief from pain, not even wisdom to attain. Attainment to is emptiness. So know that the Bodhisattva holding to nothing whatever, but dwelling in pranya wisdom, is freed of delusive hindrance, rid of the fear bred by it, and reaches clearest nirvana. So the Heart Sutra that most of you have heard, that sits in the middle of the puja, that's coming from that place of perfect vision. Although there's something evocative in those words, in another sense, it doesn't make a lot of sense. So I wanted to just say a little bit about grounds for confidence in this place of no view of perfect vision, because that's nothing less than the Buddha jewel. You know, this is the thing that this is one of the three most precious things in the universe that we commit ourselves. So let me give you 3 grounds for confidence that the Buddha jewel exists. Well, the first is the instincts that brought you here. Some of you may already have some confidence that there is a place of knowing, there's a transition from thinking to knowing, and that place can be attained. So the first thing is our own experience. But one of the things that influenced me early on, that this place really existed, was a turn of the century book called Cosmic Consciousness, written at the turn of the last century. And it puts together accounts of people, including Christ and Buddha. There's a whole list of people who had a vision that changed their life, and that was observable. It changed what you did with their life. And you're going to love this, because in between Buddha and Christ is somebody called Carpenter, who was a physics teacher in Dromfield. Did any of you know that? Mogapanta did. So, I'll just read, this is Buck's Cosmic Consciousness. If you've ever done a lecture by Sangha Night on perfect vision, he mentions this book. I love it as a little testimony for the questers, the people who've gone on the noble quest. So this is the author speaking. It was early in 1881, as he tells us, said Carpenter, when in his 37th year that Carpenter entered into cosmic consciousness. The evidence of the fact is perfectly clear, but it is not within the power of the writer to give details of illumination in the case beyond those given below. As a direct result of the oncoming of the cosmic sense, he practically resigned his social rank and became a labourer. That is to say, he procured a few acres of land, not many miles from Longfield in Derbyshire, built upon it a small house, and lived there with the family of a working man, as one of themselves. I'll just tell you a quick aside. I lived for many years, about 20 minutes, from Millthorpe. And I read about this guy in Cosmic Consciousness. I thought, I'm going to go and find where he lived. So I went to the pub, feeling a little bit stupid, the pub in the village called Millthorpe, and said, you know, you probably think I'm crazy, but was there a guy called Carpenter lived here? To which they responded, yes, fourth house on the left. So then I knocked on the door. There was a clue, it was called Carpenter House. Knocked on the door and said, sorry to bother you, but I said, I know, you're here to walk around the garden. I said, does this happen often? Yes, I draw the curtains and there's people prostrating in the back garden. So I briefly ran a few little fun pilgrimages from my house to Carpenter House. So there you go. Whether Carpenter had perfect vision or not, I wouldn't like to say. But what is very clear from reading about his life, which I did subsequently, was that something major happened that changed his perspective and changed the way he was in the world. And my third grounds for having confidence in perfect vision are just what I'm looking at right now, which is this Sangha. And I've just done a 2-week retreat. I've just been on an ordination retreat at Luke, and I saw with some force and much more clearly than I've ever seen before. How everything, all the blessings in my life through my Dharma practice arose because a young man called Dennis Lingwood in London he doesn't make any big claims, but clearly something happened at a young age that manifested itself in the most unbelievable bravery and single-mindedness, when, amongst other things, he walked across India. Read the chapter in the Rainbow Road, called Through the Curtain of Fire, I think it's called. His ardency and boldness trying to find living Dharma in the world. I think sometimes we don't realize how fragile the Dharma is. You know, in the whole of India, there were a handful of Buddhist practitioners, and he was constantly disappointed and had to really seek until Tibet entered into Kalimpong, found it very, very difficult to come across living Dharma. So what I'm saying in simple terms is everything that I see in front of me, as far as I'm concerned, unfolded from a clear seeing, a perfect vision experience. Is that making sense? Mm-hmm. So, but we better retrace our steps, haven't we? And maybe we talk about, given that I've said, well, there's not much to be said, and there's something quite mysterious about this quest. Let's retrace our steps, because this importance that's placed on drishti, or views, and the way we see the world, and this is a perspective. We're not talking policy decisions or whether we agree or disagree with some world ideology. We're talking about a perspective on life. The Dharma, the Dharma distinguishes between views that are wrong and unhelpful, views that are helpful or right view. So that's the territory. So I'll pop this back on. I'm very relieved my sound's improved. Yeah. So, well, I'll give you, it's a bit philosophical. I'm not going to cover them in detail, otherwise it'll be too dry. But the Yogacara, I'll give you the 5 categories of long view. If you're interested, you could follow up. Maybe there'll be a chance in the study groups. But I will give you a simpler way of looking at long view. Anyway, give you the 5 philosophical ones, if I can reel them off. So the first one is believing that we've got a fixed self, that there's something permanently fixed. The second one is the philosophical extremes of eternalism and nihilism. And actually all views fall into greater or lesser any view that we can explain as an element of eternalism and nihilism. Nihilists do not see that there is an eternal process. Is there more I can say about that quickly? Yeah, they think, they don't see that there is an eternal process. Eternalists don't see that some phenomenon cease, all phenomena cease. So don't expect you to make much of that. If it's not making complete sense, that means you're paying attention. Because we're looking for what's called the middle way. The middle way isn't just some average, the middle way is some higher transcendence of these dichotomies. The next one is attachment to ideologies. So it's not to say that some ideologies have got limited use, it's not to say that some policies are better than others, but this is an attachment to them. We think they really will provide some sort of lasting solution. The next one is attachment to rites and rituals and ethical behaviour. Again, that's not saying that ethical behaviour isn't, it is important to commit to ethical behaviour, but there's a relationship with that where we can be relying on a rite and a ritual, where we're very attached to that view. And then, can you get the fifth one without looking? No. Oh yes, I can. Of course I can. I've missed the biggest one. Karma. The fact that actions have consequences. So that's the Yogacara view. This 5. These are a little philosophical, but let me try and make it simpler for you. I would say the most serious wrong view we can have is that awakening and enlightenment isn't possible. That growth isn't possible, that transcendence, that human development, human growth isn't possible. I think that is the opposite of the Buddha view. The second serious, this is a natural rendition, so you won't find this anywhere. The second, it's not unique to me, but this trilogy, just as I was preparing it, I thought this trilogy was very important. The second one is that, it's that actions don't have consequences, and that ethical conduct, in particular, the law of karma, doesn't apply. And that, we'll come to what the opposite is. That's the second one. Then the third one is a disbelief or a lack of confidence that some people on the noble quest haven't made progress, and that we're on our own, and that people can't help us spiritually. Does that make sense? So we're talking about the reverse of the 3 things. So that is there more I want to say about long view. Well, just that views are emotionally underpinned, and we'll be coming, when I come to practicalities, we'll be coming to why ethical conduct helps us with views, wisdom and compassion. Okay, let's go on to a right view. So you can probably work out what I'm going to say around right view. Right view is the fact that growth and liberation and transcendence is possible, and that there are practices that help, and that we're not on our own. You know, this has been a quest for a percentage of people throughout history, and there is some evidence that some have made it. So those are, I think, three very powerful right views. But there is also, if you remember, I talked about the law of karma, not having confidence that ethical behaviour leads to happier states of mind. So you could take those philosophical ones and reverse them. But let me introduce my favourite philosophical teaching of all time. This is a carving that my father did after a retreat at Dharma. And this is probably the most, well, it's certainly one of the most famous expressions of perfect vision. And one of the reasons I love it is it is a philosophical, I'll just read it to you. This being that becomes, from the arising of this that arises. This not being, that does not become, from the ceasing of this, that ceases. When I first came across the Dharma, I went straight to that, because that was the back of the puzzle book. And then I knew I didn't understand it. But you have to take my word for it. You can reflect on this. Amongst other things, that means no beginning, no end, no creator God, nothing unchanging, no permanent self. You can work out the whole of the Dharma from that as a philosophical formula. So here, this brings me to a really important point, but right view, what's the difference between right view and perfect vision? That's where I'm going. And the answer is, right view is the launch pad for perfect vision. And conversely, if perfect vision descends on us, right view will allow us to recognize and make sense and know what to do with the experience. So right view is this sort of territory before the thinking mind that creates dualities of subject and object falls into eternalism and nihilism. Right view is the last remnants of that process where we're capturing what's called middle way thinking. This is a middle way thinking. And from that place of right view, there is more chance of an experience of perfect vision. So I'm going to share how I see things at the moment. I don't think in terms of views anymore. I think in terms of spells. That's my translation of Drishti. When this is a great insight of the Dharma that we think we're our perceptual apparatus, we're perceiving things accurately. We think we're experiencing that reality. But actually, we're seeing things through our views, and our views are emotional underpinned. So, views are incredibly tenacious. You know, maybe one thing you could experiment with in a group is just reflect on a time where a view has changed and we've transcended the view. You know, hang on to views like we hang on to objects or we hang on to people. I want to suggest one way of seeing wrong view is like an unhelpful spell. And right view is a helpful spell. And the paradox is the most helpful spells are the spells that are spell breakers. Because the place of perfect vision is a place of being free of spells. It's as simple as that. The awakened mind doesn't see what cannot be seen. So, you're very attentive because it's quite it's quite tricky territory, isn't it? So I thought I'd be shortchanging you if I didn't introduce some practicalities. So hopefully you share my inspiration for the noble quest, and you have confidence that there is this place of perfect vision. You may have had your glimpses. But the Dharma, the teachings of the Dharma, what's regarded as skillful is anything that makes it more likely for that clear seeing. That's the deepest aspect of ethics. So let's just retrace our steps now from perfect vision, or this place that's free from a spellbound existence. And ask ourselves, what makes that more likely? And the answer is right view. And how do we develop right view? We hear the Dharma. And how do we hear the Dharma with our heart? We have a mind that's stabilized and free from the hindrances. Free from, I think most of you will have come across the hindrances. Those are sort of 5 afflictions of the mind. So a mind that's in access concentration can hear the Dharma. How do we have a mind that has that sort of stability, that sort of energy and focus? We commit to ethical conduct. And ethical conduct in Buddhist terms includes working with the mind, having confidence that there's a place beyond the hindrances, that things can be seen more deeply, more intimately, and from that wisdom arises a natural compassion. And what supports our ethical practice? Friendship and Sangha. And what's the simplest ethical practice to adopt? Generosity. So this isn't original to me. This is the threefold path, which is Sila, Samadhi, Prajna, ethics, meditation, wisdom. So for a while, Aryadasa and I collaborated on some clear thinking on wise questioning classes. This isn't about clear thinking. This is about a perspective that's spiritually valuable. And at the same time, I don't want anyone to be left to go away with the impression that clear thinking isn't helpful. Because it's through clear thinking that our thoughts become more nuanced, we grasp, we're more generous, and less grasping with our mental objects of the mind. And all these things give us better chance of having a more sustained encounter with this place of perfect vision. But anyway, where I'm going with this was the inevitable question came up with Aryadasa in the class. We used to get asked, how do you think more clearly? And my first answer was always become more generous. Just the link was always so clear to me that a combination of generous listening, always having a little bit of a gap between our ideas and conclusions, and what reality may indicate, that takes a certain generosity of spirit. So for me at least, I'm trying to communicate this as best I can. For me at least, there is a very, very clear linkage from ethics to meditation in the broader sense, a stabilized mind that has the ability to attend, hearing the Dharma, uncovering our wrong views, which we all have. Wrong views aren't wicked or culpable, by the way. They're a perspective that we have that doesn't serve us and doesn't serve others. And we can make a very safe assumption that all of us, we're carrying the wrong views. It's one of the joys of the Dharma, because when a wrong view, that is sometimes primitive, quite possessive of it, when a wrong view is uncovered and evaporates, it's just the most liberating experience. And that is the journey that emerges from ethical conduct, from meditation, from studying the Dharma, and I hope to a small extent from listening to me. So, I'm just wondering, how is the time? There is time, right. I shall finish with a 3-minute reading from someone who is very worth listening to, Sangha Night. So this is, if you know the works, this is from a New Buddhist Movement 1, and it's a vision of human existence. It's from a lecture, 4 lectures. Let me read this. It's quite a long read, just 2 or 3 minutes, but he as always, captures much more eloquently and accurately what I'm trying to communicate. The Buddhist term view comes from the root meaning to see. In Buddhism, we use the term drishti, which also means a sight, perspective, vision, or view. I've narrowed spell. Traditionally, Buddhism distinguishes 2 kinds of view, wrong view and right view. We may understand in general terms the difference between 2 kinds of philosophical view or vision by making a simple analogy with ordinary physical vision. With good vision, we see clearly and for a great distance. Good vision is unblinkered. We can see all around us. Good vision is also undistorted. Nothing clouds or colours or refracts it. Conversely, poor vision may be weak in that we do not see very far or distinctly. It may be blinkered, restricted to a narrow field, so that we see only what is straight in front of us, or it may be distorted, as when we look through a thick fog or through coloured glass or bottle glass. Wrong view is very much like poor vision. First of all, it is weak. Our mental vision is weak when it lacks the concentrated energy to be derived from meditation. It is this energy that transforms a purely conceptual understanding of the truth into direct experience. If this energy is not there, then we do not see deeply into the true nature of things. We do not see things clearly or distinctly. We do not see them as they truly are. Secondly, wrong view is blinkered. It is limited to a narrow range of experience, to what can be experienced through the 5 physical senses and the rational mind. It is to have just this narrow viewpoint from which to draw conclusions, to be simply unaware of other possibilities of perception or experience. On a very basic level, this kind of wrong view is exemplified by the poverty of outlook of someone who is interested only in their job, their family, football scores, and television programs. Having no interest in world affairs, the arts and sciences, or personal development, They see life simply in terms of their own limited existence. Third, wrong view is distorted. Vision can be distorted by our mood, whether we're feeling happy or gloomy. It can be distorted by our likes and dislikes. If we dislike someone, we see all sorts of faults, whereas if we like someone, we may not see in them all sorts of perfections. We may see in them all sorts of perfections that we do not really possess. Our vision may be distorted too, by prejudices regarding race, class, religion, or nationality. Thus, wrong view is weak, limited to a narrow range of experience, and distorted by personal feelings and prejudices. Right view, obviously, is the opposite of this. Right view is powerful. Based on the concentrated energy of meditation, it gives rise not just to conceptual understanding, but also to direct experience of the truth. For this reason, it does not remain on the surface, but penetrates deep into the heart of things and sees everything clearly and distinctly. Second, right view is unlimited. It ranges over the whole field of human experience. It is not confined to what can be experienced through the physical senses or the rational mind. If it generalizes at all, those generalizations are made from the entire range of human experience, in all fields at all levels. Lastly, right view is not distorted by emotion or prejudice. It sees things as they are. We're almost there. The distinction between wrong view and right view is of supreme importance in Buddhism. A view does not, after all, exist in the abstract, somehow apart from people. It belongs to someone. So if we can identify two kinds of view, we may also identify two kinds of people. People whose view of existence is limited, restricted, and distorted are known in Buddhism as Pritagjanas, the many folk. And as the name implies, they constitute the majority of people. Most people have not worked to develop themselves at all and consequently are just as nature made them, so to speak. On the other hand, there are those whose view is unlimited in extent, unrestricted in scope, and without any distortion whatsoever. These are known as Aryas, the spiritual noble. Such individuals, having worked to attain some degree of personal development, have remodeled themselves, at least to some extent. Of course, the crucial point about these categories is that it is possible to move from the one to the other by developing awareness, by cultivating positive emotions, by raising the level of consciousness, and above all, by discarding wrong views and developing right ones. So, these two, wrong view and right view, are what we have to work with, practically speaking. However, there is actually a third kind of view, perfect view, or rather perfect vision. Perfect vision is right view developed to the fullest possible extent. It is the total vision of the total human being at the highest conceivable level of development. It is the unconditioned vision of the unconditioned reality. It is the vision that does not just look beyond space and time, but is totally unconditioned by it, that transcends the ordinary frameworks of perception. Perfect vision is the vision of the enlightened one, the Buddha, the one who sees with wisdom and compassion.